morning, not 4 o'clock in the morning. Sun, their kids at 3 o'clock, Pilates at noon, Viking and Chardonnay at 2, just in time to get in the station wagon to pick up their little rascals. Talk about, should I say what I want to talk about? I usually don't do that. I don't give a top of the show. Let's talk about Matt Nuclear, now with the Daily Wire, former Jubilee contestant, who I guess impressed Ben Shapiro a little bit, maybe with a mirror, because he looks like a Robert De Niro, weird, kind of like black. Robert De Niro's kids are Italian and black, but the, phenotype is very similar. Jewish, black. He has this, if a Jewish mother, a kind, lovely Jewish mother, had sex with Shannon Sharp, that he would be the outcome. Acorning to Matt. Funny tweet. Acorning to Matt. Looks like an acorn with that weird little head shape of his. It might just be the haircut to his benefit. He should change it. Weeknights at 4:30 p.m. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Very good. And then Keir Starmer stepping down. And, his likely successor, Andy Burnham, is not any better. So, yeah. I don't even, want to say we'll get into that. Do, that's how Nick would do it, or, set up the lineup. I can't do that because my mind just goes. I can't. Back on track. Focus on what your topics are. Here's the thesis. I used to do that when I was in school. The thesis of whatever. This is my dissertation. It's well, you start talking about dinosaurs, whatever, whether they're real. 6 pages in, it's sorry, I was on a tangent. No, but it is a problem. I don't know if that's for me. That's the brilliance of someone like Nick, is that he can have this direct contact with the topics in his head, and the linear logic is so smooth and easy. And he kind of goes to the side a little bit, talks about the old stuff just for the new audience, then goes back online, and he maintains no notes, no teleprompter. I just don't know that that's for me, i.e. I'm not that talented, i.e. That's generational shit. This is hey, morning show. That's why the morning shows exist. It's not the best. That's prime time. That's Matt Nuclear type stuff. So you want to see the best. If you want to see the best, you generally speaking, people keep their best pundits in the evening time when people come back from work, not in the middle of the day where no one's watching, except for women. Kind of makes you wonder. Yeah, so what happened this weekend? A girl scratched me while I was sleeping. I woke up in a pool of blood. You can see a scratch on my nose. And I thought my worst fear is that a woman attacked me while I was sleeping out of spite for something that I did that was probably a minor transgression, but that's how they are, cutting off my balls. But no, it was just her nail. She scratched me, so that's fine. And then I noticed I took the Juvederm stuff for the posterior mandible angle. I did Juvederm instead of Radius. I did it twice. It's now creating this jowl effect where my jawline's turning into water, and it's just creating a hanging down jowl. So I don't like that. So I'm still fat, so it's making me look even more fat, even though I'm starting to lose weight. 224 pounds, 260 in December, but still don't look great. Still there's some problems there. This is a bespoke Holland and Sherry. It's kind of like a pink checked thing, peak lapels, obviously. Wide lapel. I like the wide. I like to look like a magician, basically, when I'm dressed up. I want people to ask me if I can perform tricks. She does tricks on it. I do tricks for her. Woo, credit card pays the bill out of nowhere. Sorry, corny. But yeah, that happened. My nose is still stuffed up. Didn't take my TRT. Today's TRT, I should have done it before the show. I wanted to, have that extra confidence. it's weird because I remember before I did TRT, when I was healthy before the autoimmune disorder thing and COVID, I had a hard time doing a show back to back. I would like write down notes and do a show once a week, and then I would edit it for like days and do clips. No, like within 24 hours, I'd do most of the clips, but I wouldn't upload them. And now I'm doing way less work, no marketing, just like to talk, and I'm starting to, I just bought a phone to do that, like a specific phone for the, to maybe market a little bit, put it out there on Twitter, have a Twitter, have something. And I'm starting to realize, oh yeah, that is hard. But I think the testosterone, maybe it makes me retarded in some ways, maybe it does, but there's something about the energy level. And I can only imagine what it's like if I was healthy. Again, it's masking a serious illness that like causes oxygen depletion at the cellular level. So the thing of women being exhausted and being in bed, that is chronic fatigue syndrome, or just being a woman, that affects men also with CFS, and it turns us into these like, I don't know, curmudgeons. We're just Scrooges. We become like older than we are. We appear more jaded than we are because we're just like so tired. And so it definitely helps in that regard. I think it does something with the brain as well. It gives you some more mental energy. So I didn't take it before the show today. We'll see how we go, how the verbal acuity is. It's a slippery slope. I can't tell whether too much testosterone makes me retarded or that's just increasing B cell activation, causing me to have a low like retrieval of memory because of just neuroinflammation. So yeah, Matt Nuclear from the Jubilee videos, that circuit impressed Ben Shapiro. Probably because he has a whiny voice. It's like a mimetic thing. He's in love with this 1 degree of separation from him as a Jew, a minority who also is going to be supportive of the Zionist movement, the Judeo-Christian ideology, as an atheist, kind of like respectful of that paradigm. And crossing over into that paradigm, that Judeo-Christianity makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense is Groyperism, nationalism, fervent nationalism without consideration for multicultural ascendance and meritocracy, all this shit. So, and he talked about Western societal values or Western, Western societal values, some phrase like that the Groypers are kind of chipping away at that. I'm like, what do you think the Groypers are? They're not socialists. Like, Groypers are just making a point that there seems to be this like foreign entity controlling everything within the United States, and there's this kind of inclusion of a certain group of people at the highest levels, and everyone else is kind of like second tier. And maybe that's not right. And maybe people generally don't like all the diversity for the sake thereof, that it's not all good, It's kind of like a zero-sum game too. Like, if all diversity was the same, then diversity wouldn't be real. It would just be conformity. Like, you have no preference in terms of diversity, just as a third party looking at, like, would you rather go to India or go to Italy? Like, are you kidding? Is there some positives that Italians have and some negatives that they do? Like, have you ever been with like a really beautiful American girl to like the Costa Esmeralda in Sardinia, like in the summers in Italy? Probably most of you have not. But let's say you did. Kind of the cat calling, hey, like kind of aggressive. But not in like a rapey Pakistani gang rape way. Kind of more of a like a, look at my Gucci belt. Come on, I have a 10-inch dick. Come on, let's play. Trick time. That was a little Russian, but something like that. Trick time. We want to get on this Italian Russo battleship. Come on. Let's play. You be my American Gioscatti. Before the fat. I saw Indy Navarit's picture, like her videos recently circulating, where she's just fat. She clearly like lost all this weight for her career, but she was like a fat, like Disney kid, something like that. Do videos and like was very, very thick, and you see like the arc of that. That's the kid fat. That's the baby fat, skinny, just very severe looking, but in a great way. And then you just know that it's going to come back. Everything's a circle. Yeah, like the yellow king Scorpion King and Time is a Flat Circle from True Detective season 1, which is the only good season. No, the second one's fine. The black guy thing, or the lesbian Jodie Foster part, I never saw that. I just heard it was awful. I should have given it a shot. I like some of the old Norwegian TV shows. Is it Norwegian or Icelandic murder mystery shows? Those are good. Maybe I should have given it a shot. I think they're bringing back. Matthew and what's his name for season 4 or 5 or whatever it is that now. That writer, doesn't he live in Austin, or his wife's from Austin? Any event, Nat Nuclear will be nothing. This is what they talk about when it comes to like a perpetual bastion of like influence, where Daily Wire doesn't have to be successful; it just has to keep shooting its shot. It's an unlimited amount of re-ups. Like it's like I don't know, 25,000 lives, because the system, and this is what goes to the idea of people going to politics when the system is controlled by the outside and trying to change the system. Like, no, the wealth is on the outside. You want to look at a model for changing things. Look at the Russian oligarchs taking power at the fall of the Soviet Union. How did they do that? Stealing money, sheer violence, like killing people. Like that's that's usually what it is. It's like, we're going to take over these companies by force. We're going to like hold guns to people's heads. So to say, oh, we're going to have a bunch of groypers come into politics and they're going to be surreptitious about it, not tell people at prep school what they are, have families and all these liabilities. Again, sacrifice all that, the upward mobility of their family against these giant mega like monoliths of money and power outside the system. And we're going to say, fuck you to them. All their money is going to go to some other candidate, and somehow we're going to win, or the groypers are going to win. I don't know, man. That's a toughie. I maintain that the populace is being fractured more and more, and that the actual like wants of the people don't matter. That the way of people talking about like what they dislike and voicing their concerns is pacified so quickly. Like Andy Burnham in England is Keir Starmer. He's a socialist. You think he wants to protect like British people from like Pakistani rape gangs? In terms of pretense, he does, but not in terms of actual action. It's a symbolic gesture of Keir Starmer stepping down that things will change. They're not going to change. It's the same thing between Republicans and Democrats. That Republicans like closed borders, and Democrats like open borders. Not exactly. The money comes from powerful groups outside of the system, and they both want cheap labor. The tech industry, with all its capital expenditures, is trying to limit, costs. So they want all these like cheap engineers coming in, because the AI still can't like self-code, because agentic AI isn't real. So they need people, and because they're spending so much money, they want to have lower their operating costs. So they're going to offer less stock-based compensation, less salary, and people that are willing to do that are going to be people from other countries. And then as that group of the first generation of immigrants comes in, just as like there's all this antipathy, or Irish were found to be unwelcome by the Italians that came before them because they were undermining the wages. So too will there be some sort of weird like Indian group one that doesn't like the next generation of Indians that come here, which is basically a year later, that undermine their pay structure. And there'll be like this like internal caste system in the United States where like certain groups of Southeast Asians hate each other because of how they're undermining each other. Just as Mexicans here, same things. El Salvadorians hate their neighbor because they keep undermining the. It's the same problem. So this group differential of Republicans being pro this or Democrat. No, the money, the powers that be exist outside the system. So you have a big problem there. Andy Burnham is not going to be any different than Keir Starmer. It's going to be a symbolic gesture to appease the masses so that they don't shoot people. Should Keir Starmer simply get away with what he did to that country? No. Stepping down, is that a punishment? No. He has a sinecure for life. The system will protect him. This is designed to pacify the masses so there's not pitchforks at the door, like the peasant uprising during the Fronde in France. So, yeah, that's where you are with that. And like these things last forever. I think the Daily Wire will last forever. I would argue that the Daily Wire will outlast and the American First in terms of this current iteration because the censorship will come back at some point, and there'll be a shift where not nuclear type people are pushed and nick in other countries, like the Portuguese Nick or the English guy that was ended up being a homosexual who found himself again and doesn't do that anymore. Fine. But this sort of idea of like Nick is going to outlast the system. No, the system is going to push Nick down, and these institutional programming or institutions of programming will just stay afloat because the money will allow them to. I watched some Acorn Head, and it's not very impressive. He talks very quickly. There's something like destiny about him, like talks over you, like an autistic person. When they ask you a question, you just begin to speak, and they like try to like, I don't know, like Mad Libs, see what you're about to say. Oh, like so. Why, if the Earth? Someone today told me, someone, if the Earth's core, if the lava was removed, what would happen to the Earth's gravitational like mass? I'm like, well, and so I'm like, that's what it's like. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's so obnoxious. It doesn't work. It seems to be some sort of weird regurgitation that if you're smart, you're a fast talker, and that's how Destiny came to prominence. But he's faded, and now there's another version of that. And somehow it's speaking to this nerdy black guy. Like, who gives a fuck? So at one end of the spectrum, they've pushed that it's okay to be racist. The Republican Party, particularly Jewish people. And that's fine because like I like to see like what is the game. It's like one of the first things that terraformed the United States was making black people cool or seem cool, and then the white middle America started to copy that in terms of like cultural affectation. And so you have this like kind of distance of it's okay to be racist, but we're gonna put a nerdy black kid on prime time, and we're gonna kind of disregard all that other stuff that we said about like crime statistics, this and that, and we're going to focus on now he does espouse those things whether he believes them or not, that like single motherhood rates and sexy red music will manipulate young people into acting a certain way, young women into being promiscuous, so on and so forth. And I think that's correct, but the other side of the token, to appease the crime and the derelict and destitutes that people see in their inner cities, destroying them, it's like, oh no, that's also a problem, but you're not going to do anything about it because that's not done yet. You need more of that. I'm waiting for like Indian families to just like clash with like black homeless, black thuggery, and see what happens. I don't know what will happen, but I'm hoping that I have a front row seat so I can watch it. The intersectional car crash of things, like the woman the other day who was arrested. I wish it was exactly 1-to-1, but it wasn't. A friend of a woman who was raped by a Pakistani person, not the girl, complained and said that there is a serious immigrant rape problem in the UK or in France, and she was arrested for saying that. I sent that to a friend because I didn't read it. I was like, oh, does this mean that the girl that was raped is complaining about being raped and she's getting thrown in jail while her assailant is like somewhere? That's incredible. Not quite 1-to-1, but still, your friend gets assaulted and you complain that there's a problem, and like objectively with the facts, it is a foreign person, it is an immigrant that's not here legally. People are getting raped and are upset about it. There are more stories like this popping up in the news. There's even a censorship campaign in the UK to say, how can we limit these stories from coming out into social media, because they're giving a false impression that all immigrants, again, this per capita issue of mathematics and like denominator versus numerator in terms of like what proportion, they don't seem to care about that. It's just like this blanketed black and white thinking, well, not all immigrants rape. It's like, Jesus, it's like, what does that mean? What math is this for? Women? Yes, that's what it's for. It's for women. It's for the empathy of women to put down the ire of man. And the only way they can do that is through sex. The only way a woman can control a man through his logic, reason, and accountability is through sex. That's it. So that's what they're attempting to do by preaching to women in a way where math is involved, STEM, and they're just like, not all immigrants rape. My friend just won a screenwriting competition for a, like, I can't say, but it's an immigrant-based, ICE-based screenwriting competition, and she already has like producers talking to her about it. You know, the ICE raids weren't real. Like, they were real. They were like more white people got killed than like immigrants. The detention centers are empty. They don't know what to do with them. They're trying to sell them. Yet, if you ask someone from like Los Angeles, they'll like say that it was horrific and all these families were torn apart. It was fake. It was for the news. It was for the news. It was for the midterms. It was to appease a certain voting bloc, but it turned against them. They just dropped it altogether. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. You know, you really want to be careful about those things, because those type of issues, you're putting women against men. And the reason Trump lost in 2020 is because of women voting at home in their Lululemon in between a Viking and a Chardonnay. It's true. You give women the opportunity to be comfortable. Never mind like the stuffing of the ballots and some of the fraud. I'm sure that occurred, just like it did with Spencer Pratt, where the second half of the mail-in votes all went to some random Indian girl that wasn't even on the fucking ballot when he was like finally a candidate going down to like the final, you know, him versus that other woman. Like, there's a random Indian girl that popped up and got all the mail-in votes. But in the first half of mail-in votes, she got none of them. Weird. Very weird. Like, I'm not talking about a main candidate. I'm talking about like someone off the fucking ballot, someone like write-in. That's not even like a likely candidate. You know what I mean? Like Ralph Nader versus Clinton and I don't know, George Bush. You know, it's like Ralph Nader's there, and somehow Ralph Nader's getting all these votes. It's like that. It's like, what? Doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, no doubt that happens, but you got to be careful. Women, empathy, kindness. Nick talked about this the other day. Nick talked about the idea that romantic comedies are the desire of what a man should be through the eyes of a woman, and because a man wants to be with a woman, that he thinks that that's the best version of himself. Yeah. And it's fucking freaking me out how like this preternatural understanding of like socioeconomics and the general disposition of women from a guy who can't stand them, that he's so fucking dead on. Like, I was raised by a single mom, not because she like hated my dad and kept me away from him, thought he was like a narcissistic investment banker, and maybe he was, but he wasn't necessarily a bad father. But she hated him so much that she like kept like used her anger to train my brother and I to like hate our dad, which isn't a great thing, and I don't recommend you do that. But the general idea is like, men, I think the ultimate purpose in their life is to get a girl. It is like the logical conclusion of the sexualization of like corporatism, but it removes the masculine part. It's like James Bond movies where he's always fucking these girls and going to these dinners, but he's never working, and telling someone, okay, now build a career for yourself, because like that is the outcome at the end. But like now you have to build your career so you can afford all that shit. They have no idea because they don't show that part. It's the same thing. Like, why is this guy so attractive? Because he did all these things that are like masculine and aggressive and like not shown, that women don't like, but they implicitly like. They don't. It's not an expose. It's what they say they like, but there's also this vicious violence and this like aggression and competition in men. And men are not seeing that part. They're not seeing that part. Even in like fucking Avenger movies with the comic books, it's a fucking superhero being violent to protect a woman or something. It's not just like because he wants to win. The villain is usually that way. And that's like, oh, that's crazy. Is it? Just Get it, all the shit? Yeah, dude. The pacification of the masses while the elites play a different game that is like zero sum. It's unbelievable. And then you have women whining at you like, you have to be good and nice and like right and wrong. I'm like, listen, I'm Catholic. I get that. But the Crusades, like, start to think about, like, Nick talked about the other day. I've said this on a previous podcast, like, hell must be awesome. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, all these people, how are they in heaven? People in heaven, what, Buddhists, monks with no personality? Even Gore Vidal, he was cruising on, like, you know, the Amalfi Coast, smashing, like, young rent boys and whatever. That guy's in probably hell, you know? And he's probably more interesting to talk to. Christopher Hitchens. Like, like Ted Kaczynski would be interesting to talk about, you know? Hell. Who's more interesting? George Will or Ted Kaczynski? Ted Kaczynski. Not saying you should, like, reallocate your morals and principles so that you just, hey, I want to be with the cool people when I die. like totally just throw it all out with the bathwater. I'm just saying it's kind of a funny contradiction, you know? Let me just take a brief... Every time I touch my phone when I'm streaming, sometimes it fucks up. Let me just quickly look where we are. Oh, good. Because Bausch was scary for... Yeah, it's still scary, but it's... You know. My nose is so stuffed up. We're in a weird spot. We're just in a weird spot right now. One of the coolest trades that provide the preferred shares go the way they should. The Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Freddie, FNMC, FNMA, I'm saying, FMCC, Freddie, FNMA, Fannie, FN as in Nancy. Sorry. Those are some like 401k trades. Those are some, you know, Roth IRA, trades, you know, self-directed probably. Those are some good ones. We'll briefly look at the news. You know, the Strait of Hormuz was closed again. It seems like they're making progress, and the IAEA is allowed to come into Iran again somehow. We got that this morning. Very interesting. Again, I maintain, you know, Iran doesn't need a nuclear weapon because Pakistan has one, because Russia has one, because China has one. They're not going to let Iran fall to a Western puppet regime anytime soon. Oh my God! Didn't Microsoft just hire this bitch? Now she's trying to sell Xbox. Dumb bitch. Dumb bitch. So dumb. Dude. Yeah, dude. Stupid. You hire a woman as the head of Xbox inside of Microsoft, of course, and she's like, let's sell it. I don't know what to do. Dude. I look like Bill Clinton. My nose is all stuffed up. My tip of my nose becomes completely undefined. I look like Bill Clinton. Where my nigga girls at? Hey, where my nigga girls at? Get it? Yeah, it's Billy. It's Big Willie here. Big Willie time. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't think my air's on. It's hot as fuck in here. God, sweating like a farm animal. Is that Sarah Stock? Yeah. Dude. I'll play some of this.
Jews, women, and blacks. Take a listen. They're always coming up with, no, it's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it fucking isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
Okay. Would you like to clarify what you meant there?
That's all true. That's 100% true. Everything I said in that clip is true.
Including that blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, all of them?
No, for the most part.
What does the most part mean? What percentage of American blacks would you like to see in prison?
Whatever the percentages of the murderers. I think it's 1 in 20 black men will commit a murder in their lifetime. So maybe let's say that, 5%.
Oh, so you're talking about black people who murder people?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you didn't
Yeah,
say
that's-
that.
that's
You
the
just
crime
said
problem.
blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. You didn't clarify that you were talking about black murderers.
Right. No, you're right. That's a good addition to that. That's a great point.
Do you think it's funny, or
Yeah, I do. I think it's hilarious. I think it's totally true.
do you think a black
I think-
American would find it funny? You think that blacks should be imprisoned for the most part?
Blacks are my biggest fans. I get high fives all the time. They say, Nick Fuentes, I love your show. They agree with me. And you want to know why? Here's the difference. Black people are the most victimized by other black people. You think black people want to live in the hood, in the ghetto, and get shot all the time? That's what happens in the south side of Chicago.
This is true. Black people only play this game of the political posturing that there's racism. The reason why they are where they are is because of systemic racism. They'll play that game. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. Even the women don't believe it. They do it because it's in their best interest because the powers that be are giving them a platform to preach that way. Like Al Sharpton talking about each new crime against Shit. I had it there, and sorry. Let me start over. Black people don't believe in the systemic racism argument. They only say that and preach that as a platform when they are a pundit in society, because that's the only way they get a platform. Holy shit, my nose is so stuffed up. I don't have any tissue. I don't know that I can speak. It is so stuffed up right now. They know that the only reason they get a microphone is because they have to preach this. Like Al Sharpton have a primetime show on CNN wouldn't happen any other way if it wasn't all about how blacks are victimized this week, which ones, which cities, and what to do about the racism issue. That's all they're allowed to talk about. They don't lift themselves onto these platforms. They're astroturfed. So they know that it's in their interest to talk that way because they might get a job. They might get a 501c3 to give them a diversity hire bullshit thing, even people that are not directly in politics on camera. So they know this. And so when Nick talks true shit, hey, most black crime is black on black, and they don't like it, he's speaking to something because he's an OG. People respect truth. They do. The hyper-authenticity of Nick Fuentes. The hyper-authenticity of Nick Fuentes. I'll say it again. Hyper-authenticity of Nick Fuentes is respected because everyone else has a fucking ad read, has someone saying you have to say this or else, or you want those tickets to, to Italy, you want that Ferrari, you want to have that sponsored Maserati in the driveway that we'll pay, you have to say this. All these little bonuses, nothing is real. Your entire platform, your opinions are all bought and paid for. That's how the world works. He doesn't. He doesn't, because no one wants his ideas. He's already espoused. They're so toxic, he can't even go back. He can't even Lucas Gage it. Not him. So, that is true. What he's saying is true. And the black people are smart enough to play the game. I don't blame them. It's not in their best interest long term. Look what's happening now. Now more immigrants coming in, taking black jobs. They're going to be more marginalized than ever before.
You should come here. I'll take you there. We could go to Garfield Park.
My son
We could
went
go
to Chicago
Hemingway.
University for a year, actually, several years ago.
Yeah, that's a bubble. That's a bubble. You think you're in Chicago and Hyde Park? You don't know Chicago. Go a little bit west, see what it's like over there. And I'll tell you, black people agree with me because they're tired of it too. And maybe not most of them, but a lot of them agree with what I say about that because they know how it is. That's why the first thing they do when they make a little bit of money is they go and leave to another neighborhood.
Okay, so what was just remind me again, the percentage of black men who commit murder in America. What was the percentage you gave me?
It's 1 in 20. 1 in 20.
It's 1 in 100.
No, it's 1 in 20.
No. Less than 1 in 100 black US men commit murder. That's the most up-to-date crime statistics in America.
That's not true. I've seen other statistics. They say 1 in 20 will eventually commit a murder.
So your rate means that you're saying that 5 times as many black men commit murder as the official crime statistics say.
Yeah, there's a report, I believe, on X by Data Hazard. I'll have to go and double check that for you. But yes, there's some pretty shocking evidence that says that it's far more alarming than you would think.
Okay, but you would accept that the official crime statistics are 1 in 100? Or you wouldn't accept that statistic?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but I've seen other evidence. Like I said, Data Hazard on X, I believe, produced a report about a year ago. It said 1 in 20. But, I mean, whether it's 1 in 20 or 1 in 100, that's a lot of people, Piers. I mean,
sure,
this is
a lot of white
problem.
people commit murder too. Well, they do, don't they?
Okay, but it's about proportionality. I mean, white people are 65% of the population. Blacks are 13%. Mm-hmm. And I think anybody would tell you that more black people proportionally commit.
I see myself in my camera, and I'm just like, I'm so fat. I'm just grinning like this fat piece of shit. It's so hard to look at. Okay, let's go back to it.
Violent crime than white people, and people vote with their feet. People would rather pay a much.
Would it be funny if like I'm playing this for you and I just like have this other hand and it's just full of Cheetos? I just like, oh, Nick, you're so funny. That's basically what I look like.
Much higher property tax.
Most mass
what's
shootings.
with the interruptions?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, you look at in Chicago, in New York, these neighborhoods are so stratified. People would rather pay a high tax rate. They'd rather pay a much higher property value to live in a less diverse, less black neighborhood because they don't want to live around the violence. And I think that when you look at even on the public transit, the subway, the blue line, you know, people don't want to go there because they know who occupies and menaces the public transit. It is these people like Daniel Penn they had to deal with. It's people like Irina Zarutska had to deal with.
Yeah, very sad story. A friend of mine did a mural for her in Missouri. A Russian girl did. A lot of Russians in Missouri, St. Louis, did a mural for Irina Zarutska. And the Asian grandmothers that are constantly pushed off subway platforms, it's an epidemic. Oh, fuck, my friends. IVIG just got canceled. God damn it. She has an autoimmune disorder. I probably should answer that in a second. Okay. That's bad for her. Where was I? Zaruska platforms, Asian grandmothers, disproportionately pushed. Asians bundled up on a cold subway platform in New York City. How do you even know that they're grandmothers and they're Asian? Do they follow them from the convenience stores? Do they like get kicked out one day and the vendetta is just going to watch when she like locks up? Her younger son goes the other direction to go play like, I don't know, Pokemon, like live, whatever bullshit, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever the fuck they do. And she walks by herself, and the black guy who stole like cigarettes stalks her as the train is coming. He pushes her and he gets really boisterous, kind of like a person who's like trying to hide from an elephant charge. You know, they get like this so that when people see after he pushes her to her death, people like will approach like, why did you do that? Like rational, normal people. He'll do his elephant thing like, and they're like, whoa, just like an elephant would. You know, it's like he makes himself bigger than he is. like it's like a retarded danger, that's like I have to create myself as a retarded dangerous person so I can get away with this murder of an elderly Asian woman who denied me Newport cigarettes because I didn't have $5 on me. I don't know what the taxes are in New York City exactly for those. I don't smoke, but you know what I mean. It's interesting how many crimes black people commit that are so like binary, like your life's over if you're caught, and it's not about like money or things that matter. It's about like disrespect in the most remedial way, like low IQ, no planning. I'm just gonna like, my emotional, and I mean like the emotion is not immediate impulse. Like think of that. Like you have a premeditated murder over something that doesn't matter. You get no gain from it whatsoever, other than like the feeling, like a sociopath. But it's not even that. Like a high IQ sociopath who's like General Zaroff in The Dangerous Game is killing people for sport, and he enjoys like the craft, like someone who's like very crazy, and like there's some sort of art to it. No, it's like they feel slighted. The emotion never goes away. They can't compartmentalize it or like reflect on how they felt betrayed, really because they're poor and they couldn't afford cigarettes that day. That's really their own embarrassment, but they can't accept that. They never move past it. They never extrapolate or just like ponder and just think about like what exactly is going on in my life where I have to steal Newport cigarettes. No, they brood into how can I kill this Asian woman from the convenience store that denied me my Newport cigarettes so that I am redeemed in terms of my honor as a derelict black man in the eyes of myself. And they can't see like the repercussions of this, that then they are behind a prison cell forever, or maybe they're not. But it's like, who gets the reflection of like, look, you owned her, man, good for you. It's just like in your head. It's so solipsistic. It's in your world. No one's watching and cheering you on. In their head, they're like, this person thinks they're better than me. Yeah, they are better than you, and you're horrible. Like that's what a terrible thing to do. Asian grandmothers are amazing. Absolutely terrible. I should call my friend. All right.